Okay, Representative Swedzinski moves House File 2360. Representative Swedzinski now moves H2360A1, the amendment. A discussion on the amendment, Chair Swedzinski. Is that yours?
Yes, that is my amendment, and that gets the bill in the shape that I would like the bill to be discussed before the House Tax Committee.
So the gentleman from Lyon moves the HF2360A1 amendment. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion prevails. We now have the bill before us as amended. Two-year bill as amended. Chair Swedzinski.
Thank you, Chair Davis. Thank you, Chair Gomez. Thank you, members. This bill, House File 2360, ultimately just creates a state-level program that builds upon really the successful federal program that's been implemented. The big difference between this bill and what the feds do is primarily, obviously adding money to focus in these particular areas, but also add money so that we can focus it not only in the metro, which is the primary focus of the federal program, but allow at least 50% up to our bill is a $200 million bill, that $100 million of that would be focused in greater Minnesota. That's one of the biggest changes of the bill to add to this, and that's why House File 2360 is part of it. Yeah, it's a 12-month-long program. Our goal really is to really drive investment throughout the state of Minnesota, not just in the metro area. I believe there's a map within your packet that's got those particular dark areas are areas of purple because we like to save money. We didn't print them in color. So that's the bill. I do have some folks here that would like to speak on behalf of it. And from other highlights, from an oversight standpoint, the CDE. So they must be approved to invest in the program and receive federal funding, and this just allows the state to participate on the state level to help guide those funds where we seek and where we feel that some investment could be beneficial. So with that, thank you.
Thank you, Chair Swedzinski. I have two testifiers, an Alex Stepanek and a Jason Wobema. I hope I did that right. Is virtual from Hibbing. Alex? Please state your name and who you represent for the record. And from the audience, is there anyone else who wishes to testify on behalf of the bill or with concerns? Okay. Please state your name and who you represent for the record, please.
Thank you, Chair Davids, Chair Gomez, members of the committee. My name is Alex Stepanek. I work for a company called Advantage Capital. I'm here in support of House File 2360. Advantage Capital is an impact investor that for the last 30 years has been investing in small businesses in low-income and underserved communities through programs like the New Markets Tax Credit. In front of you today, as Representative Swedzinski referenced, this is a state-level take on a federal program that's been around since about 2000. Every year, the U.S. Treasury awards $5 billion to community development entities, CDEs like Advantage Capital and about 300 others across the country that invest specifically in small businesses in parts of the country where capital just traditionally doesn't flow. A few of the projects in Minnesota that have already received federal funding, the historic Coliseum building on Lake Street, George Modular Housing in North Minneapolis, Red Lake Trading Post in Red Lake, and Climate by Design HVAC in Owatonna. This is a program that since 2007, what states found was that the money was not being dispersed evenly by state. And so some states were getting a lot and some states were getting a little. And so in 2007, these states that were getting a little started to pass state-level programs to attract more funds, more of these funds to their state. It's been the only proven way to bring more of these funds to a state to make sure that the small businesses and nonprofits that are trying to grow but can't find the financing to do so have access to the capital they need, and they have a disproportionate amount that comes to that state that passes the program. One thing of note, the 14 other states that have passed programs like this, none touch Minnesota. So passing a program like this is a real differentiator for attracting more of these funds to the state. The nearest state that's done it is actually Nebraska, and they passed their program in 2012. Prior to that, they were 49th in the country at attracting these funds, and after passing their program, they shot up to second in attracting these funds. And so with that, the question you should probably ask is, so what? That growth is beneficial. Where's the money going? Who's it helping? I'll tell you one very quick story from Nebraska. There was an entrepreneur in North Omaha that started a call center because she wanted accessible jobs available to the people where they live and where she grew up. And she had about 50 employees and wanted to buy out her co-owners so that way she could grow the business, and they didn't want to grow. And she went to 6 different banks, and they all told her that they couldn't get her the financing that she needed. She found that financing, about $1.8 million, through the New Markets program that the state passed, and was able to grow her business from 50 employees to 100. The coolest story in that is that she found that a lot of her employees were having trouble getting to work because bus routes didn't run to where her office was. So she went and bought a bus and went and started picking up people so that way they could continue to keep the jobs that she was providing. And then within 18 months, she paid off her 5-year term loan, 3.5 years early, and then continued to grow her business to where now it's 400 people in North Omaha. And she's the largest minority woman-owned business in the state of Nebraska. She's got an incubator where she helps other women start and grow businesses, and she was recently appointed to the Federal Reserve Board in Kansas City. And she's an incredible entrepreneur. And this program isn't, the program doesn't do that. It's an entrepreneur that does all of that, but this program gets her and entrepreneurs the financing they need, where they need it, when they need it, and with your support, program like that could really help these businesses in Minnesota. I'd be happy to answer questions. Our other testifier is an entrepreneur that has to run to another business meeting, so I'd ask you'd hear his testimony as well.
Let's go there first, and let's go to Jason. If we could get Jason on here.
Yeah. Good morning, Mr. Chair. I'm Jason Wabama, the owner of Advanced Machine Guarding Solutions in Hibbing, Minnesota. Appreciate you letting me testify on the new market tax credit. So I believe that the new market tax credit focuses on areas that lack the financial backing they need to thrive. This helps ensure that Hibbing isn't overlooked by larger investors, giving local entrepreneurs like me a real chance to grow our business, strengthen the community, create good paying jobs. The new market tax credit would help bridge the gap between local entrepreneurs and the access of traditional funding methods and what's needed to grow successfully our business. So we started in 2021 with myself as employee number 1. We're actually up to 22 employees. And like Alex was mentioning, we're struggling to find working capital cash to double our size of our company. We want to go from 22 employees up to 50 employees in the next 2 years. And in rural Minnesota, it's very difficult to find that. And part of the reason we're struggling to find that is the reason I built this company was to eventually turn it into an ESOP and create wealth here on the Iron Range. I'm open for any questions.
What does your company do?
We make steel guarding for robotics and automation.
Okay.
So we actually, based in Hibbing, we actually use all US made steel. So not only do we create jobs here, but we also buy from our local mines here in Hibbing.
How are the Hibbing Blue Jackets doing?
For hockey or
Hockey.
For well, you saw in state they won the first game but lost the next 2. So,
But you know what? They were there, weren't they?
they were there, and it's
They were
been a
there.
while since they were there. So,
Any questions for either of the testifiers for members? Chair Gomez? Any-
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Chair. I guess I just, some of the changes to this bill from the previous version that I saw are not in a direction that I would support, I guess. I kind of think that there should be a little more conversation before, you sort of arbitrarily decide that half of the funds go to one region versus the other, not based on the economic output of the 2 regions, but just sort of seems a little bit arbitrary. Adding the 5-year carry forward sort of makes this a more permissive kind of tax credit to use, and the cost is obviously an issue, the increase in the allocation, but. We probably don't have money for this year, but appreciate the ongoing conversation on this. I know it's an effort that's, enjoyed support from both parties in the past, and so it will be in the mix as we move forward, but, probably not enough room in our budget for $100 million for this year. Thanks, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. Chair Gomez, to the author, if you'd like to wrap it up?
Sure. So thank you, Chair Davis. Thank you, Chair Gomez. And just if you take a gander at the fiscal note, we do push out some of the costs out into future years. So the first cost incursion would be 2028, 2029. It's a 7-year program, and then it'd be $20 million a year moving forward past that point. So it does take care of some of the issues of tails and current issues within the budget dynamics that we're finding ourselves in. And the unique part of that is by structuring it in this manner, we can get within a 12-month period all the beneficial investment up front. And so, oftentimes, I think that would be a large selling point to the bill and why it would be important and why we don't necessarily have to set the funds aside within this budgetary dynamic. And I think that allows us to potentially look at that, and I'd be happy to work with Chair Gomez if there's some massaging that can be done on this bill that would garner some support from across the aisle. I'd be happy to have those conversations. And also the beautiful part of this bill, that can be scalable. So, if the budget diameters, we find ourselves in a better situation, we'd be happy to add to this. So we could add more money to it, but we could also potentially scale it back a little bit to make it a little bit more palatable for the committee. So thanks again for your time. Appreciate your support.
And thank you, Chair Swedzinski. Chair Swedzinski renews his motion that House File 2360 as amended be laid over for possible inclusion in the omnibus tax bill. Thank you to your and your testifiers.
Thank you, Chair.